Hello friends, welcome to Risingpearl.com. Today we are learning about series 3 where we are learning a great deal on trigonometry. This is webisode number 13 and this really friends is a recap webisode for trigonometric ratios of some important angles. By that I'm referring to the angle 0 degree, 30 degree, 45 degree, 60 degree and 90 degrees. Now these are the trigonometric ratios that we have seen in our earlier webisodes. So we just wanted to make sure that we put all of them together in one webisode for your easy reference, and these are the values that you absolutely must remember. Now just very few basic things. Whenever we talk about trigonometric ratios, we always talk about them in the context of a right triangle. So here we have a right triangle ABC and angle B is 90 degrees. So it's important to understand that whenever we talk about trigonometric ratios, they are always in the context of a right triangle. Second very important point, we have seen this earlier in one of the webisodes, is that the values of the trigonometric ratios of an angle, they do not change with the lengths of the sides as long as the angle remains the same. So here for example, if I look at angle A and say I want to find out sine of angle A, cos of angle A and tan of angle A. If I want to find out these three ratios for angle A in my triangle CAB, now whatever the values of these are, now if I extend the side AC like this and AB like this, and let's say I have a new triangle now, and now let's call the new triangle P and Q, so PAQ. So here for triangle CAB and PAQ, my angle A remains same. So the sine A, cos A, tan A, whatever the value if I get for in triangle CAB, let us just say that I get this as X, Y and Z or Z. In triangle PAQ also these values will be exactly the same. Even though I have increased the length, right, for the sides, so from AC to AP and AB to AQ, but the trigonometric ratios will remain same as long as my angle A remains same. This is very important and we should always keep this in mind. Now let's friends go ahead and now find out that let's do a recap of all the values we have learned. Just to give you a quick idea about how we are going to structure this, this is a simple grid, and angle A is any angle. It could be angle A, B, C, P, Q, R, whatever, and these are the values. These are the angles for which we want to know what are the trigonometric ratios. So 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees and 90 degrees. And now let's write the trigonometric ratios. So because we are writing that as angle A, it could be any angle, so we are expressing all the trigonometric ratios in terms of the same angle. So sine A, cos A, tan A, cosec A, sec A and cot A. So this column will represent sine 0, cos 0, tan 0, so on and so forth. This column will represent sine 30, cos 30, tan 30. So similarly this will be sine 45, cos 45, tan 45, so on and so forth. So let's write the values for 0 degrees. So sine 0 degrees is 0, cos 0 degrees is 1, tan 0 degrees is 0, cosec 0 degrees is not defined, sec 0 degrees is 1, cot 0 degrees is undefined. Let's move on. Next, 30 degrees. Sine 30 degrees is 1 by 2, cos 30 degrees is root 3 by 2, tan 30 degrees is 1 by square root 3, cosec 30 degrees is 2, sec 30 degrees is 2 by square root 3, and cot 30 degrees is square root 3. For 45 degrees, sine 45 degrees and cos 45 degrees, they are both 1 by square root 2, tan 45 degrees is 1, cosec 45 degrees and sec 45 degrees both are square root 2, and cot 45 degrees is 1. Moving on to 60 degree angles, sine 60 degrees is square root 3 by 2, cos 60 degrees is 1 by 2, tan 60 degrees is square root 3, cosec 60 degrees is 2 by square root 3, sec 60 degrees is 2, cot 60 degrees is 1 by square root 3. And finally for the 90 degree angle, we have sine 90 degree as 1, cos 90 degrees is 0, tan 90 degrees is not defined, cosec 90 degrees is 1, sec 90 degrees is not defined, and cot 90 degrees is 0. Now friends, if I ask you that can you tell 2 times 5 is how much, you will say of course it is 10. If I ask you 6 times 8 is how much, and you know it is 48. And similarly, if I ask you 12 times, maybe 9 is how much, and you will know that 12 times 9 is 108. The point I'm trying to make here is that these are the values you know because you know the tables through 1 through 20. Over the years, you have memorized these tables. So, so these values automatically come to you. Similarly, these tables, the trigonometric ratios of these angles, you need to memorize it. You need to remember them exactly as you remember your tables. Because going forward, and you will see in the next few episodes, we are going to cover lots of questions which will test your knowledge about these trigonometric ratios of those angles. So one simple way to remember, it may be overwhelming because there are 6 trigonometric ratios, right? And how many angles we have? We have 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it may seem like you have to remember these 30 values. Right? So one simple way, I shouldn't say degrees, 30 values, but one simple technique you can use is, if you remember all the sine values, cos values, and tan values, that is, if you can remember half of them, if you can remember 15 of them, then you can very easily write cosec, sec, and cot, because cosec is nothing but 1 by sine, sec is nothing but 1 by cos, and cot is nothing but 1 by tan. Right? So if you remember for each of these angles, if you remember the sine, cos, and tan, then you can easily deduce cosec, sec, and cot. Now some of you may argue that what about tan? Tan also can be expressed. You can write tan as sine by cos. We have seen this earlier. We know that tan of an angle is really sine of an angle by cos of an angle. But I will strongly urge you, instead of trying to learn only sine and cos, only trying to remember sine and cos, I would strongly urge you to also remember the values for tan as well, because you don't want to, every time somebody asks you in a question what is the tan 45 degrees or tan 90 degrees, that you perform this calculation all the time. You do not want to do that. Now if you forget the value of tan but you remember sine and cos, of course you are going to use this formula to find out the value of tan. But it'll be good if you can actually memorize these values for all these angles. In other words, here, so these values, sine, cos, and tan, for half the table, that is for 0 degree, 30 degree, 45 degree, 60 degree, and 90 degree, these shaded values or highlighted values for sine, cos, and tan, if you can remember, you can easily plug in for the other half, right? By simply noting that they are just the reciprocals. So cosec is reciprocal of sine, sec is reciprocal of cos, and cot is reciprocal of tan. So randomly, if you take a look at, say for example, this value. So this is cosec 30 degree. If you know that sine 30 degree is 1 by 2, you can immediately tell cosec 30 degree is 2. So similarly, if you look at maybe this value, this is cot 60 degree. If you know tan 30 degree is square root 3, then cot, if you know that tan 60 degree is square root 3, then cot 60 degree will be 1 by square root 3. So friends, I hope that this webisode had helped you. This is a table that you absolutely want to memorize, and at the very least, you want to memorize this highlighted part of the table, that is the values for sine, cos and tan of all these angles. And like I had said earlier, I'm going to include the links of each of these trigonometric ratios for each of these angles below this video for your easy reference for the future.